Inside uppercut by Foreman.
Come on, let's go. Work on it. Come on. Stop that shit. Oh, and look at Mike. Look, and Jerry Cooney's in big trouble. He's ready to go. And there he goes.
And he is badly hurt. Same position he was in round 5.
History remembers George Foreman as a smiling grill salesman or a lumbering giant who relied solely on brute force. This is a fabrication. The myth suggests George was a technical novice who could be outthought by any clever boxer with a sharp tongue. In reality, Foreman utilized a sophisticated mummy guard, using extended arms to parry jabs and manipulate his opponent's head position.
The middle and get right to the end, the knockout punch here. Jerry Cooney took some giant headshots from Foreman. He hit a lot and often.
Those who mistook his slow-looking movements for lack of skill often paid for the insult in blood. By the time he arrived in Kingston, Jamaica, in January 1973, the boxing world viewed him as a manufactured contender.
George Foreman was just walking him down early in this fight. But watch these punches that he hits. Big shots. They look slow. A big right there that landed out slow, but it's like a pound of bricks just hitting you right in the face. And you can tell because Cooney's like survival mode.
They believed the undefeated Joe Frazier would expose George's perceived clumsiness within 3 rounds. They were wrong about the man, and they were catastrophically wrong about his method. On January 22, 1973, Joe Frazier entered the ring as the heavy favorite. Frazier's camp hadn't just predicted a win. They had dismissed Foreman's 37-0 record as a product of careful matchmaking. Howard Cosell's broadcast reflected this skepticism, questioning if George had the heart to trade with a champion.
Going down, but he's tired also. You got to remember, he's not only dazed or unconscious and that, but the man, he's breathing. The man,
as he was going down.
No, I've never tried to do this. Some fighters do that, but I've never.
All right, Muhammad, we've seen your flurry of knockout punches.
The lesson began 120 seconds into the first round. Foreman didn't just punch Frazier, he shoved the champion back with his lead hand to reset the distance. A tactical foul Frazier wasn't prepared for. George landed a right uppercut that physically lifted Frazier off the canvas.
And Anthony Joshua's got to go study that film, Muhammad Ali, Leon Spinks, where Muhammad jabbed him, hit him, held, jab, hit, hold. And after so many rounds, the fight goes and use that film, Joshua can retain the title. But if he goes out there and thinking he can knock Ruiz down.
By the time Frazier hit the floor for the 6th time in the second round, the narrative of Foreman being an unskilled brawler was dead. 14 months later, in Caracas, Venezuela, Ken Norton believed he held the blueprint to dismantle George. Norton had recently broken Muhammad Ali's jaw and felt his cross-arm defense was the ultimate shield against Foreman's wide hooks.
Ain't no injury, no worse.
You know, I saw the repeat of the movie the other night with Kirk. I think we've talked about this on the show, but it still intrigues me because what I know, and a lot of sports writers wonder sometimes whether it's really even a sport, where 2 men come out and to injure the other man. I mean, in football, of course, the idea is to tackle hard. And
Norton's trainer, Bill Slayton, told the press that George was stiff and predictable. On March 26, 1974, Norton tried to dance, flicking jabs to frustrate the champion. Foreman ignored the movement. He used his lead hand to trap Norton's gloves, clearing a path for a devastating right hand that crashed through Norton's supposedly impenetrable guard. The fight lasted barely 5 minutes. Norton, the man who had outboxed Ali for 12 rounds, was left draped over the ropes, his technical superiority neutralized by George's deceptive hand fighting.
After walking Patterson onto a brutal uppercut, Ali gets a jab knockdown on Patterson, rarely seen in boxing.
Right, we'll take him out, down. Mandatory.
Patterson shows mint in the fights.
He gets a chance.
After the shocking loss to Ali in Zaire, the boxing community treated Foreman like a spent force. To prove his critics wrong and silence the hecklers, George staged the Toronto 5 on April 26, 1975. He agreed to fight 5 different professional boxers: Alonzo Johnson, Jerry Judge, Terry Daniels, Charlie Polite, and Boone Kirkman, back-to-back in a single afternoon. The event was a circus of trash talk. Muhammad Ali sat ringside, shouting insults at George throughout the bouts. Jerry Judge even tried to headbutt and taunt Foreman during their segment. George responded with a terrifying displays of aggression, cornering Judge and launching a 20-punch flurry that nearly sent the opponent through the ropes.
No, you are. I never borrow with them. My brother owns 2 jet skis. I have 2 Sea-Doos where you sit down even if I wanted to. I tried them 5 years ago to try to stand up on them. Look, and they don't even have current registration. You get fined. You can't even take them out of the water. You cannot go on the lake without current registration.
He proved that even a diminished Foreman was a nightmare for anyone brave enough to mock him. By January 1976, the boxing world viewed George Foreman as a psychological wreck. Ron Lyle, a formidable contender who had survived a prison stint before turning pro, saw George's loss to Ali as proof that the former champion lacked stomach. At the weigh-in at Caesar's Palace, Lyle refused to look away, his camp suggesting that Foreman would fold the moment he faced real adversity again. When the bell rang on January 24th, Lyle didn't use the lateral movement that had frustrated George in Zaire. Instead, he met Foreman in the center of the ring, testing George's chin with a staggering right hand in the opening round.
Foreman was staggered by a Lyle left. Goes down.
Lyle's strategy was built on the premise that Foreman's intimidation factor was gone, but he soon realized that while George's aura had faded, his physical capacity to absorb and return fire had not. The 4th round of Foreman versus...
That's all you got?
Big right hand from Ali. That punch staggered Foreman.
Bad, George. They told me you was bad.
That one punch definitely changed the tenor.
Lyle remains one of the most violent sequences in heavyweight history. Lyle dropped George with a thudding combination, and for a moment, it appeared the bully had been broken. George rose, his face swollen, and began firing short, choppy hooks that lacked his usual extension but carried immense leverage. He sent Lyle to the canvas later in the same round, only for Lyle to rise and floor George again just seconds before the bell. The lesson Lyle learned was that George's power was independent of his confidence. In the 5th, Foreman pinned Lyle against the ropes and unleashed a sustained barrage of 30 unanswered punches. He didn't look for a clean knockout blow. He simply pulverized Lyle's guard until Ron collapsed face first. George had proved he could win a war of attrition, not just a blowout. 5 months after the Lyle War, Joe Frazier sought redemption in Uniondale, New York. Frazier's camp believed George's battle with Lyle had left him punch-drunk and slow. Frazier even sported a new look, a shaved head, intended to signal a more serious, focused approach. He abandoned his signature bob and weave for a more upright stance, attempting to use head movement to slip George's jab. It was a tactical disaster. George's reach advantage was 11 inches, and he used his left hand like a rangefinder, constantly pushing Frazier's head down into the path of his uppercuts. In the 5th round, a Foreman left hook followed by a massive right hand sent Frazier sprawling. Joe's corner stopped the fight shortly after. Frazier, the man who had survived 15 rounds with Ali, had now been decimated twice by Foreman in less than 7 total rounds of action.
He will not be as much trouble or as awkward as Oscar Bonavino. Joe Frazier predicted the fans will be angry. They'll be mad at the critics. They'll be mad at the experts for so much. This man will be completely outboxed.
You got time. You got time.
This will be no contest.
What do you say, Joe? What do you say to that? I'd say.
On March 17, 1977, George traveled to San Juan, Puerto Rico, to face Jimmy Young. Young was a master of the spoiler style. He leaned over the ropes, taunted his opponents, and used subtle shoulder rolls to deflect power. Throughout the fight, Young whispered to George, mocking his inability to land a clean shot in the humid 90-degree heat.
Working your fingers right down to the bone. And the guy behind.
Good morning, class. Everyone turn to page 16 in your books. Who wants to read out loud?
George became obsessed with the knockout, swinging wildly and depleting his oxygen. In the 12th round, Young even managed to floor an exhausted Foreman. George lost a unanimous decision, but the true lesson occurred in the dressing room afterward. Suffering from heat stroke and exhaustion, George claimed to have a religious epiphany. He walked away from boxing at the age of 28, leaving the sport for a decade. The man who had terrified the world was replaced by a street preacher in Houston. When George Foreman announced his comeback in 1987 at age 38, the sporting press treated it as a comedy routine. He was 267 pounds, wearing baggy overalls, and talking about the common man. His first opponent back was Steve Zuski. The crowd at the Arco Arena in Sacramento laughed as George moved with a deliberate, flat-footed plod. Zuski, a journeyman who had gone the distance with several contenders, thought he could outwork the fat old man. However, George had replaced his wild haymakers with a muffled punching style. Short, heavy thuds that didn't look fast, but vibrated through an opponent's skeletal structure. By the 4th round, Zuski's face was a mask of bruises. George didn't need the speed of the 70s. He had developed a heavy jab that functioned like a power punch. Zuski was stopped in the 4th, the first of many to realize the joke wasn't funny. By 1990, the comeback was no longer a gimmick. George had racked up 19 consecutive wins, mostly against overmatched opponents, leading to a Two Geezers showdown with Jerry Cooney in Atlantic City. Cooney, famous for his lethal left hook, was told by his trainer that George was too slow to see a professional-grade punch coming.
He got a little left hook in and he wobbled Big George. Wait a minute, I am not supposed to be on the ropes. Let me get out of here, and he did. Before Foreman was able to take advantage of it. But again, Jerry in a corner. And that time, Jerry got a little left hook in and he wobbled. Now watch the inside left hook by Cooney. Not there. There. And that punch...
Cooney started fast, landing a sharp...
There you go. I gotta get you a jab. We're gonna start out with a punch.
Cooney later admitted that he had never felt a human being hit that...
On the attack. You're not kidding. Holyfield looks a little stunned, a little weary. Here's where George finally take a look. Round, set him up with the jab, missed with the right, but came up on the side of the chin with that left uppercut. At that land. Overhand right from Foreman. Good body shots by Foreman. The crowd going nuts here.
Although Holyfield won the decision through superior volume...
Fight, say, I've had about 60 or more boxing matches.
Right.
And you only meet 3 genuine. Jerry Cooney, Ronnie Lyles, and a kid I worked with by the name of Cleveland Williams. And they hit vibrates your body, even if you block it, just goes right to you.
So you would say Jerry Cooney was one of the hardest?
In the 3, even harder than Joe Frazier with his left hook.
George's face...
Break it up, ref! What's my name? Here we go, break it up.
Get off those ropes! Get out of there! I'm not sure about this strategy of retreating to the ropes.
Going right back to the ropes, George. Come on, put that pressure.
He lay on his back, staring at the ceiling lights,
you care about what they think? 6 months ago, Royce didn't know any more than you do. Hold him. I can teach you too. You gotta...
Following the Moorer miracle, the box...
The bell for round one. Coming up next, Boone-Kirkman time. We may really see a fight.
Well, we're really seeing fights now until they get hit.
Foreman laying back and
Hit the ropes. He's
quite
scared.
evidently
He's scared.
tied.
However, the judges awarded a split.
Ali, get off of those ropes!
Ooh, Foreman's pouring on the punches. Those punches gotta be doing some damage.
They told me you was bad, George. Let me see it.
Ali cannot keep Tim survive.
He proved that power is the last thing to leave a fighter.